the transfer balance cap is going from 1.9 to 2 million. So what does that mean? I've never heard of that, Martin. What does that mean?
Well, let's start with what is the transfer balance cap first before we get to the 1.9 to 2 million.
So the transfer balance cap is how much you can transfer from accumulation phase or super phase where you're building your super into pension phase where it's still inside of the super environment but you're starting to draw that out.
And importantly, you're moving money from your accumulation account, which is internally taxed at 15%, to another pot within super still of 0% tax.
Yes.
So are we saying the balance transfer cap is the most amount that you can transfer, because it's a transfer balance, the most amount you can transfer is 1.9 million into the 0% tax environment. However, it has now changed to $2 million.
Correct.
Right.
So, and for many people that may not be a factor to worry about, but for some and for those that it does impact, it can impact in various ways. So, as Glenn mentioned, you might move it across all at once. You might retire and move my whole balance across, no further questions. But you then may, a few years later, downsize, receive an inheritance, put more money into super and move further across at that point. So you may have available cap still to use. You may have not used it at all, and therefore you've got the full cap to use. And if you did it today, or so if you did it a few weeks ago, you might be under a 1.9 cap. But if you're doing that from July onwards, that's going to be a 2 mil cap.
So when it goes to $2 million, what we're saying is I could, if I had $2 million in super, I could start a pension for whatever reason of $1 million, zero. It's not a one and done, use it or lose it. It just means I've got now a spare $1 million. So in year 3 or 4 years down the track, if it's still $2 million and I still add the extra 1 million, we can't add to a pension, but I could set up a separate pension or roll the other pension back and then start
combine it. Yes.
Combine.
Yep.
So there's some options there, but I think that's a good indication of the balance transfer cap.
And it's a lifetime cap, exactly that point. It's you might only move across $1 million now. You can move it across later for the rest of your lifetime. The detail where we won't get too far down this is that if you had a few years ago, the cap used to be 1.6 million. It's increased over time to 1.9 and now it's going to be at 2 mil. And while it's a dollar cap, it's somewhat the way that it gets adjusted is somewhat as a percentage. And so what I'm going to say is that if a few years ago you moved the whole 1.6 million across, that means that at that time you used 100% of your cap. Today the cap's 2 mil. You go, oh, there's extra 400 I can use.
But you've already used 100% of your cap.
Used 100% of your cap. So you, under that rule, can you now move an extra 400,000 across? No. Or if a few weeks ago you're 1.9, can you now move an extra 100 across? No. If you used 100% of your cap, 100% of your cap's been used. If you used none of your cap, well then yes, you get the whole increase. Back to your example with the million, if you've used 50% of your cap, you get a 50% increase. So you don't get the whole 100 increase, your cap might only increase by 50,000. Now that's where we get lots of fun games.
Yeah.
On your ATO portal or on your account, it tracks how much you've used, how much you haven't used, therefore what is available still to be used.
It's important to note with the balance transfer cap, that's not a cap on how much you can have in your superannuation pension account at 0%. So I could move, as at now, it's the start of July, I could move $2 million from accumulation to pension. Awesome, radical. I then go, I've got a self-managed super fund and I'm going to put that $2 million into a crypto wild specky investment.
Go for it.
Don't call it an investment, but whatever. For the sake of this, now my pension account went to the moon. I transferred $2 million. The asset is now worth $5 million. It's still 0% tax rate. But enter
yes,
div. That's a good segue.
It is.
A good segue to the div 296.
I'll loop back around before we come back to div 296 is let's say you did that and you went on a wild roller coaster and it went down to 1 million or it went to zero. I moved 2 mil across. I made a bad investment. It's gone to zero. Can I now move another 2 mil across? No.
No, because you've already triggered the cap.
You used 100% of your cap. So whatever happens after it goes into pension phase stays in pension phase. Whatever happens in Bali stays in Bali. Whatever, like that doesn't impact your cap.
But if I roll money back from pension to accumulation,
you get a credit back.
It can reset.
Yeah.
But that's an asterisk. Get advice. Don't do this at home.
That's not a change in market. That's yes, if you roll back and commute and do different things or you do a lump sum withdrawal, you can get some credits back on your transfer balance cap. But that's a deep dive another day.
All right. Well, let's move on and take that segue to the Div 296 because one thing, and we did a video last week of a deep dive on that, it is slated to update as at, once it gets through the Parliament and all that stuff. We know at the moment, end of June, backdated to 1st of July 2025. That may change by the time this episode goes up. But the thing that I just want to mention there is the Div 296 includes the superannuation balance, regardless of whether you have money in a pension account or accumulation.
Yeah,
so that's when that 0% tax, if it goes to the moon, well, you move 2 million across, awesome, and then the investments increase.
Phase. Yes.
It could increase to 3 million, sweet.
No further tax.
No further tax. But if it does go over that, the Div 296, we'll get to that. But we won't camp on 296 because we did that whole episode last.
If this is the first time you're hearing about it, you're affected by it, go do some research. But reminding people that this is now coming, or this is based on what we know, this is come into place and will affect individuals with a balance above 3 mil. But
yeah, it was 2 weeks ago actually we did the Div 296 came out on the 12th of June.
So go back and listen to that for the detail on that one.
Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.